Welcome to Big Papa Rob's podcast Story Rewind with Mandy. I'm Big Papa Rob. Each of our stories are about one of the many missing people out there. We rewind the story of a missing person in hopes that someone will hear their story and can share information to help find them. There is always someone who knows something that can help find this missing person. The missing person we're going to tell you the story about is Pamela June Ray. She went missing August 12, 1992 in Panama City, Florida, shortly after she arrived for her vacation with her children. Mandy, we had a request for this story a while now. If I'm not mistaken, your hairstylist requested us to cover this story.
Yes, she did. She said she wanted more information on this case and she wanted to see what you could find out.
Rewind the story of Pamela June Ray. Pamela was born October 3rd, 1955 to Ralph and Helen Bennett. Pamela grew up in the Stockbridge, Georgia area and was one of 4 children. Pamela was described as a girly girl growing up. She had long hair and it was always had to be perfect before leaving for school, even if it made her and her siblings late for school, according to her younger sister. Pamela was also described as a rule follower and devoted to her parents. She was in several pageants growing up. At age 16, Pamela got married for the first time to her high school sweetheart and dropped out of high school to follow her husband to California because he was in the military. I'm not sure how long this marriage lasted. There just wasn't a lot of information out there. I know she married again and divorced before marrying Michael Ray.
Michael and Pamela had 2 children, Shane and Brandy. Pamela was a dedicated mother to her children. Pamela, Michael, and Pamela's entire family moved to Luthersville, Georgia, where Pamela's father started a trucking company. The whole family, including Michael, worked for the company. Now living in Villa Rica, Georgia, August 11, 1992, Pamela and her children packed their blue 1991 Plymouth Sundance for their vacation. Michael couldn't go on vacation with them because of work, and Pamela had no issues driving that far on her own. Before leaving town around 7 p.m., she called the Wilhite Motel in Panama City, Florida, to confirm her room and was told by the manager, Tim Harston, a room would be ready the next morning by 9 or 10. It's reported by Pamela's sister that the manager was supposed to leave a key in the mailbox for Pamela so that she could get in the room early. Pamela and the kids stopped by her brother's house on the way to Florida for a quick visit and left her brother's house around 10:30 p.m. for the 6-hour trip to Panama City, Florida.
As I read up on Pamela's case, I read a lot of comments and questioning why did she leave so late to Florida, saying that this was odd. I don't find this odd at all. It's a lot cooler out when driving in the summer night. I looked up the weather in 1992 for Villa Rica, Georgia, and it was 92 degrees that day. The few vacations I went on growing up, we almost always left at night. Even myself, I prefer to drive at night, less traffic, plus having young children, they will sleep most of the drive down, and when they all get there, they'd be ready for a full day at the beach.
On August 12th, 1992, around 3:30 a.m., Pamela and her two children, Shane, 12, and Brandy, 5, both asleep, arrive at the Wilhite Motel in Panama City, Florida. Pamela checked the mailbox for the key, but it wasn't there. So she knocked on the door of the hotel, and a worker came to the door but did not know anything about the arrangement she had made with the manager the night before. So she went back to her car to wait. Several witnesses reported seeing Pamela standing by her car between 5 a.m. and 5:30 a.m. At around 5:25, a police officer on patrol drives by the Wilhite and reports seeing Pamela standing at her car talking to an unknown white male with a pet ferret. He was described as having sandy hair. He was in his early 20s, 6 feet tall, and about 150 pounds. He stated he watched Pamela lock her car with the key and follows the unknown man to the nearby parking area close to the pool. Rob, when I was just reading, I realized it said that she was at the parking area by the pool, and she went in there with this unknown man. So this hotel did not have their pool area locked at night, or it wasn't just accessible from inside the hotel where people were able to just walk in there?
This is an older hotel, so if you can imagine, you've got parking going in and where you park in front of the rooms, and in the center of that is where the pool area is. It probably had a fence around the pool, but it's adjacent to the parking lot.
Okay.
There's a picture that'll be on our webpage, and I'll try to put it into the reel that I'll share on social media.
At 8:30 a.m., the hotel manager arrived at work to find two children alone crying in a locked car. He then calls the Panama City police. When police arrive, the children state that they don't know what happened to their mother and that they've been asleep. As the police start investigating, they find that Pamela's purse and money were locked in the car. As the police interviewed guests at the hotel, they find that guests report hearing a woman scream, "Help me" and "Save me" around 5:30 a.m., but did not report the incident at the time. The police then called Pamela's parents' house, and Rhonda Bishop, Pamela's younger sister, was at their parents' house where the office of the family trucking company was ran out from. She answered the phone, and the Panama City police tell her that they have Pamela's children, but they don't know where Pamela is. So Rhonda starts calling the family, getting everybody over to the parents' house. And then Rhonda and Pamela's husband, Michael, catch a flight to Panama City, and then they go to the sheriff's department to get the children. According to Rhonda, the police initially assumed that Pamela was just frolicking around and just left her children in the car. But Rhonda and Michael had to convince the police that Pamela was not that type of mother to just leave her children in a car and take off to have a good time. And to make matters worse, it began to rain in Panama City that day, washing away any evidence that might have been left behind. The day she went missing, it rained 2 inches, and the next day it rained 4 inches. Police checked every motel room in the immediate area, and families searched the entire area, putting up posters in a desperate attempt to find Pamela. At one point, there was a report of a man in a striped shirt who was sitting on a folding chair outside of the Wilhite Motel in the hours before Pamela went missing. His name was Andrew Paul Henry. The police knew him, and they had had trouble with him prior, involving an alleged attack on a female, where he was arrested, and when the woman's story had some issues that didn't match up, he was then released. With this being said, there was no witness that placed him with Pamela that night, and he has since passed away.
As I read through this story, this guy also closely matched the guy with the ferret that we talked about a few minutes ago.
Okay.
But they did really dig in on that, and he had been known to be in the area at the same time, but there was nothing truly connecting him to Pamela's disappearance. Over the years, people have brought up some legal problems that her father had about 3 years prior to her disappearance. This was related to a bank that mistakenly wired $400,000 to his business account. Later, he was taken to court to repay the money. At one point, the DA's office decided to charge the entire family, who were all listed as owners of the trucking company, with theft. Ralph Bennett, the father, was charged, and the other family members were never indicted, and their records were expunged for the charges. Ralph eventually resolved the matter. This legal issue led to people speculating that she had access to the money and was trying to start her life over. There was never any evidence of this, and everyone that knew her knew she would never abandon her children like that.
So Rob, did the father not question where this $400,000 had come from when it was put in his account?
From what I read, he assumed it was a payment from where he did some work for the state and just assumed that that was part of that payment. I'm not 100% sure. There's not a lot of detail around it, but that's what I found across most of the stories related to this.
Okay. In 1998, investigators were told that suspected serial killer Mark Ryby confessed to Pamela's murder. Ryby was serving a life sentence for the 1989 murder of 29-year-old Donna Callahan. At one point, he admitted to committing 12 murders and then recanted his statements. When he initially confessed to Pamela's murder, he stated that he and his wife were in Panama City looking for a victim to rob when they saw Pamela's out-of-state tags. The couple pulled over when Pamela got out of her car. He said he forced her at knife point away from the parking lot, leaving her belongings in the car with her children. He said after killing her, he either dumped her body in the ocean or buried it about 25 miles away in Port Washington. Rob, did he not know what he did with it? That just seems kind of strange. If he's confessing to murdering her, but he said he either dumped it in the ocean or he buried it, did he not know which one he did? Did that not raise any questions from law enforcement?
It did, but there's more to this. We got some more information that even his daughter has reported that's coming down the pipe here in a few minutes.
Okay. When he made his confession, the investigators asked him to tell them a detail that only the killer would know. He told the investigators, "The only thing I can think of is a single key that I picked up off her." The police asked where did the key come from, and he stated out of her hand. This information is in fact true and was not released by the police at that time. They found the rest of her keys in the car with her other belongings. The family confirmed that this was something Pamela would do regularly, locking the car and keep only the door key on her. But as Rob had said before, Ribby later recanted the statement.
Pamela's father, Ralph, was relentless in searching for his daughter. At one point, it's reported that he went and visited Mark Ryby's mother. While at her home, Mark happened to call from prison, and Mark's mother made her son talk to Ralph and telling him what Mark knows about Pamela's disappearance. Mark reportedly tells Ralph that he killed his daughter, and Ralph collapsed on the floor while on the phone. A few months later, on November 16, 1999, Ralph Bennett passed away from a heart attack. Over the years, Rhonda, Pamela's sister, has written numerous letters to Mark Ryby in prison, wanting answers about her sister. He has responded to almost every letter, but they are basically ramblings, brief denials of being involved in her sister's disappearance, but usually just claim innocence in every case. She has made repeated requests to meet with him in person, each time he refuses to meet with her. In 2000, a search dog seemingly uncovered other human remains in the area near where Donna Callahan's body was found. It was speculated that this could be Pamela's remains. Unfortunately, nothing came of this, and it was later discovered that the handler of the search dog, Sandra Anderson, was charged with 5 fraud felonies related to planting human bones for for searches her dog did, and apparently in an effort to gain more notability as a human remains search person.
So, Rob, if this woman did this, the human remains search person, had been planting bones or something, did the bones that were actually found, did they belong to Donna Callahan, or was that just what they assumed because that was the area that she had went missing in?
They had assumed because that's one of the last victims that he had killed, but it never did come out and say whose bones they were. But when this whole thing blew up about this Sandra lady and her dog, it made a lot of questions about a lot of the searches that had been done with the dog, if there was anything invalid with it.
Rhonda has been in touch with Jelena Hayes, Ryby's daughter. Jelena was 4 years old when her family abruptly left Northwest Florida with 2 U-Haul trucks and drove to Warrensburg, Illinois. There, Ryby put his children to work. He made the kids dig holes, according to Jelena. Jelena told Rhonda and Panama City police that she believes the remains of Ryby's victims were in bags that her father buried in the holes. Rhonda contacted the police in Illinois after this information came to light. The property where Jelena lived with her family has different owners now, but the owners gave investigators permission to search. The Macon County Sheriff's Office in Central Illinois immediately began digging. Sergeant Roger Pope has told media outlet WAND News outlet July 16, 2019, that they did not find any evidence during a search of the property on North Glasgow Road. Another piece of possible evidence that Rhonda and Jelena believes ties Mark to the crime is a picture of Mark Ryby's wife wearing a ring that is believed to be Pamela's ring that was never recovered in her belongings. But at the time of this podcast, we couldn't find any other information on this investigation.
Let's talk about Pamela June Ray's description again. Pamela went missing August 12, 1992 in Panama City, Florida. She was 36 years old at the time and she would now be 68. She is 5 foot 3 inches tall and weighs 110 pounds. She is white with brown hair and brown eyes. She has a scar on her head. She was wearing either a red tank top and black shorts or cut-off blue jean shorts and a white shirt. She would have been wearing purple and black thong-style sandals. Jewelry she would have had on was a watch, a wedding band, a diamond solitaire ring, 1 carat, diamond earrings, 1/2 carat, and she may have been wearing a necklace. If you have any information, please contact Panama City Beach Police Department at 850-233-5000. Case number 92-25739. The stories we tell about the missing, I hope, arms you with new information about this missing person that might lead to finding them. Additionally, we hope that you will share the information about this person in hopes that by sharing, it may lead to locating this person. As with almost all missing person cases, there is someone out there that knows something. Please come forward and contact the authorities. Once again, I'm Big Papa Rob, and this was an independent podcast called Big Papa Rob's Podcast Story Rewind. Our podcast is written and produced by Big Papa Rob. Story editing is done by Mandy. I couldn't have done this without the support of my wonderful wife, Mandy, aka Big Mama. If you want to support our podcast, you can buy us a cup of coffee. You can find the link in our show notes or go to our new webpage, BigPapaRobPodcast.com, and find it on our support page. Speaking of support, we now have an affiliate link on our support page. The company I buy my top hats from has allowed us to be an affiliate. If you click the link and make a purchase from my link, make a portion of the purchase, which in turn helps support us and help cover our operating costs in bringing you this podcast. If you have enjoyed my podcast, please leave a 5-star rating and tell others about our podcast. And finally, if you have a story idea, please contact me through our website, social media, or email. A link to our website is listed in the show notes. I would love to hear from you. Today's music was The Shield by Hot Dope from Pixabay. This was a Big Papa Rob Podcast 2024. See the show notes for links to the reference material used in this podcast.